There are thousands of eFootball players who think the only way to get better at the game is by buying epic cards, big-time players, or Showtime packs. But what if I told you that the real secret to playing like a pro in eFootball is already in your settings? The truth is that many beginners struggle in matches not because they are bad at the game, but because their joystick settings are completely wrong. Your joystick is literally the steering wheel of your entire team. Every movement, every dribble, every defensive recovery, every last-minute run to score a goal all starts from that tiny circle on the left side of your screen. So, in today's video, I'm going to show you 5 joystick control settings that can completely change how you play eFootball. If you're a beginner trying to improve, or someone tired of losing online matches, this video might actually be the difference between playing like a casual and playing like a pro. First of all, let's understand what the joystick actually does. The joystick is what controls the movement of your players. It is responsible for positioning your players in the right places, whether you are trying to receive a pass, create space, intercept the ball, or make a run into the box to score a goal. If your joystick control is poor, your players will feel slow, clumsy, and out of position. But when your joystick control is good, suddenly your dribbling becomes smoother, your defenders close spaces faster, and your attacks become much more dangerous. Now in eFootball, there are 2 main control types. The first one is the virtual pad, and the second one is the touch and flick control style. The virtual pad is the one that almost everybody uses, probably around 80% of players in the game. It's easier to understand, easier to control, and much more beginner-friendly. You simply move the joystick and use the buttons to pass, shoot, or tackle. Touch and flick, on the other hand, is more complex and requires more precision. It involves sliding and flicking your finger across the screen to perform actions, which can actually be extremely powerful in the hands of experienced players, but for beginners it can feel like trying to solve a math equation during a Champions League final. That's why most players start with the virtual pad. If you guys want, I can make another video explaining how to master touch and flick controls like a pro. Another thing many beginners don't realize is that there are actually 2 defending control types in the game. The first is standard defending and the second is pressure style defending. Standard defending is more controlled and helps you position your defenders better, while pressure style makes your defenders aggressively chase the opponent. Both have their advantages depending on your playstyle. And honestly, defending settings alone deserve their own full video because mastering defense in eFootball is an art. If you want that breakdown, let me know in the comments. Now let's talk about the directional stick types because this is where things start to get interesting. In eFootball, you have 3 options for your joystick type, which are fixed, movable, and off. The fixed joystick stays in the exact same spot on the left side of your screen the entire match. It never moves, which can help players who like consistency and muscle memory. Once you get used to it, your fingers will always know exactly where the joystick is. But the downside is that if your finger slips or if your hand position changes, controlling your player can suddenly feel awkward. The second option is the movable joystick, and this is the one I usually recommend for beginners. Instead of being stuck in one place, the joystick appears wherever you touch the left side of your screen. This makes it much more flexible and comfortable, especially if you're still learning how to control your players. Many experienced players also prefer this option because it reacts faster to quick movements and dribbling adjustments during intense moments in a match. In fact, many guides recommend the movable joystick because it gives better responsiveness and quicker reactions during gameplay. The third option is turning the joystick off. This removes the visual joystick completely from your screen. It's something only very advanced players use because they rely purely on finger movement without needing the visual guide. It looks clean and gives you more screen space, but if you try this as a beginner, you might end up dribbling your striker straight into the defender like you're giving them the ball as a gift. Now let's talk about another setting that many players completely ignore, which is the movement input range. This setting controls how sensitive your joystick movements are and how quickly your player reacts to directional changes. In eFootball, there are 3 options, which are narrow, medium, and wide. The narrow input range makes your joystick extremely sensitive. Even a small movement of your finger can cause your player to change direction quickly. This is great for sharp turns and quick dribbling moves, especially when you're trying to escape defenders. However, because it's so sensitive, it can sometimes make your passes and ball control slightly less stable if you're not careful. Medium is the balanced option and, honestly, the safest choice for most players. It gives you good turning speed while still keeping your movement stable and accurate. If you don't know which one to choose, medium is usually the best place to start because it doesn't exaggerate the strengths or weaknesses of the joystick. Wide input range is the opposite of narrow. Your movements become slower and more controlled because the game requires a larger slide before detecting direction changes. This can help with ball protection and precise positioning under pressure, but it can also feel slightly slower when you're trying to react quickly during fast counterattacks. Narrow reacts to smaller movements while wide requires stronger directional inputs before triggering movement changes. Now, before this video ends, let me give you 5 quick joystick tips that many pro players use to improve their gameplay. One of the most important tricks is learning to use small joystick movements instead of pushing it fully every time. Many beginners push the joystick all the way in one direction, which makes their players sprint uncontrollably. Small movements allow you to control dribbling better and keep the ball closer to your player. Another powerful trick is using diagonal joystick flicks when dribbling. Instead of moving straight left or right, slightly angling the joystick can help you slip past defenders much faster because the game registers sharper direction changes. The third tip is to combine joystick movement with short bursts of sprint instead of holding sprint constantly. Pro players rarely sprint for long periods because it drains stamina and makes the player lose control. Instead, they use quick bursts of speed to create space. The fourth tip is practicing circular joystick movements when you are under heavy pressure. Rotating the joystick slightly while shielding the ball can create small pockets of space that allow you to escape defenders without losing possession. And finally, the most underrated tip of all is simply practicing joystick control in training mode. Many pro players spend time experimenting with different joystick settings across multiple matches before settling on what feels perfect for them. Even small changes in joystick sensitivity can completely change how responsive your gameplay feels. At the end of the day, your joystick settings might look like a small detail in eFootball, but they actually control almost everything you do on the pitch. The difference between a player who struggles to dribble and a player who glides through defenders is often just better joystick control. So if you've been losing matches or feeling like your players are too slow, don't rush to blame your squad. Sometimes the real problem is simply the settings you're using. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.